Millwall Football Club is in an area of London which came off badly in the post-war changes. Traditional industries, in particular the docks, were closed down or relocated. Better-off families moved to the home-owning suburbs. Others were forced to move as the 19th century neighbourhood was transformed by tower blocks. The old community was fractured and scattered. Around the same time, the area was absorbing and reacting to a new group of immigrants, mainly black people from the West Indies. But although the population was radically changing, the vast majority of active Millwall supporters remained white, working-class young men, including many who had moved away from the area, but travelled back to the Den for matches. For some of these supporters, the visible changes appeared to be squeezing out the way of life they celebrated. For them, loyalty to the club and pride in the community often led to contempt towards outsiders. As in many clubs, racism became open, and racist chants became part of the experience of watching football. At Millwall, the reputation and the intensity of the abuse has meant that black supporters have never been attracted in any numbers. All outsiders came to be seen as legitimate targets for verbal abuse and ridicule. Little was done by the club or football authorities to challenge this behaviour.
Immediately after the war, people who'd been bombed out or moved away from Lewisham into Newtown development and places like that, and a lot of other people came who had moved into the area and basically had not got the association with Millwall that they had. In addition to that, certainly in part of the time, a part of an hooligan element developed around Millwall, and as a result of that, people who were normal supporters actually stopped themselves coming to football.
It changed as society changed. You know, people seem to have a little bit more money in their pocket. Younger people were travelling on their own and didn't come as a family anymore. And they used to converge in groups more. You know, you'd get behind both goals, you'd get your 300 or 400 or 500 youngsters. But they just had no leadership from the older generation that's been passed down like we had, you know.
Millwall is more than a football club, it's a way of life. It offers
As part of the flurry of media concern and fascination, a Panorama programme of 1977 attempted to explore the phenomenon of hooliganism by focusing on Millwall.
We're always in the sort of second and third light, but we're like people are frightened of us all over England.
The supporters, best supporters in the land. They go anywhere. Anyone comes down here, they get slung out, I'll tell you that now.
All we're going for is a good game of football, a good punch-up and a good piss-up. And that's all about Millwall.
It was an attempt to go beyond the crudities of the popular press, but part of its effect was to reinforce the stereotypes.
Like any other set of supporters, they cheer on their team, question the referee's parentage, exchange pleasantries with the police, whom they call the Old Bill.
It set out to identify violent gangs and explored the theory, widely held at the time, that they were linked to extreme right-wing groups.
At the bottom of the hierarchy are the youngsters. They call themselves the halfway line, and when it comes to aggro, they imitate their elders. But as they grow older, they have a career choice to make. Some of them graduate to treatment. They're the ones in the surgical masks. Although one mobs, treatment don't pick fights, but they're always there when they happen. In the trench warfare of the terraces, it's F Troop who go over the top. F Troop are the real nutters, self-confessed loonies like Harry the dog, who go looking for fights and are seldom disappointed. And a scheduled ruck took place.
The programme became part of football folklore. This is the view of Millwall that has become familiar, building up notoriety for people like Harry the Dog. But 12 years later, the young man leading the chanting in the film remains critical of their approach.
Well, the Panorama programme done many interviews with Millwall supporters, and when it was actually come out on the telly, it was a little bit one-sided. I mean, we have, as I said before, we have got tough supporters, and a lot of people are proud of that reputation. But they came around and interviewed me, and I told them a few things about Millwall, which they just wasn't interested in, like the Sunday markets or whatever we was doing then. But it wasn't really news to them. It's the same little story. They wanted to jump on the old bandwagon, not Millwall.
Well, after the Panorama programme, a lot of the troublemakers, a lot of the hooligans, started to take themselves seriously, but started to believe their own publicity, and it made them do it all the more. I thought it was just a couple of nutters having a fight over there. That's it, you know, police come on, bund them all away, that was it. They actually took themselves seriously, and they went out to sort of start causing trouble because getting the papers.
It became premeditated.
Yeah, cut-outs to the violence, you know, a little scrapbook and all that sort of thing.
That's right.
Got it on video indoors, prized possession on the shelf in the cupboard, like sideboard. They actually began to believe what was written about them, and after it was...
And the Panorama programme brought all that out. It brought all the bad things out in the people themselves, you know. It made people believe what they was doing was somehow noble, something like that. And really, it wasn't. You know, it was just damaging football and Millwall Football Club as a whole, like, you know.
I think the press seem to overdo it. It's mainly because, I suppose, of Millwall. I mean, there's other clubs who've got their bad supporters, but Millwall, you get them and they seem to have nailed us to the floor. I think even this season, if something had really gone wrong this season, we'd have been nailed to the floor. I think they're most unfair. They seem to overdo it. I mean, the Ipswich game in the cup tie when we lost 6-1, there's a bit of trouble over in the stands, and mainly I think what I see, because I was in the seats myself, that people were just getting out of the way of a bit of trouble over there, and the papers made it out as though there was a riot down there, which was totally out of order. And if I may say this, Robson, who was Ipswich manager at the time, he really slurred Millwall supporters, which I thought was totally out of order.
On television and in the press, pictures have had their effect. On the one hand, violence has become more visible and less tolerable, while on the other, some supporters have been prepared to glory in the publicity and to act up to the cameras. In fact, similar incidents have become frequent throughout the country. But Millwall lived up to its poor reputation and continued to be singled out in coverage and in calls for punishment. The authorities have come to see the problem as one of crowd control. Measures have been steadily strengthened. Policing is heavy. The experience of going to a football match now includes being herded by police with horses and dogs and close surveillance. At Millwall, the view of the game is restricted by cages and spikes, as supporters are firmly separated. Arrivals are subjected to body searches. A wide range of behaviour is now interpreted as hooliganism, and the whole crowd has felt the consequences of a hardening of police and public attitudes towards football fans.
They treat us like dirt. I think for most football supporters, they herd you about, they push you around, they want the slightest excuse to give you a tough time, not just because we're Millwall, because we're football supporters. At home they're okay, because we sort of know a lot of them sort of from seeing them at home games. Away games it's different because we only go out to sort of like see other teams once a season. It's always been bad. I don't know if it's getting much better.
Like, you go